interesting how he's going to show up. But this Wukong again, I'm on the fence on it. A bit of monkey business back in the jungle. How do you think it's going to fare into the Viego?
Well, it's a very good question. I'm quite keen to see how aggressive he wants to be with this one, whether or not it's going to be a case of farming up an absolute full clear, or if he wants to be as aggressive as Kevy will be. Look, I mean, let's just run with the cast. Let's just do a double cut. 2 play-by-plays.
Yeah.
Who cares about analysis?
Yeah,
We're just screaming.
Doesn't matter. I can give it a good hot crack. I'm no Tally. That's the big thing. Like, Tally's the brains. You're the knowledge. No, Tally's the knowledge. You're the
He's the knowledge. I know nothing. All I know is to speak. I can speak a lot. But, we had to pocket analysts on the side to make us sound smarter.
I'm just the winning smile, is what I'm going to be. And that's fine. That's okay. But we're going to get there. So we found out Tally's unfortunately had a bit of a accident, a little bit of an outage in the area. And that's okay, because he's still in our hearts.
Not ideal, is it?
He's not out of our hearts, though.
I'll tell you what, we've had our fair share of fun outages over the years, right? I think the one that really remains the same for me is the fact that I had a fire alarm happen. I had to evacuate the building. I just had to leave. I think that's when Kitty was like our interview at the time. She just came and started casting. What an absolute legend. So we'll wait and see what goes on. For the meantime, though, we're going to see a Biopanther go in for a cheeky little face check of the enemy jungle. Realise that red buff is being taken. Now, red buff is not going to be denied just yet because Mochi's going to flash across the wall and deny the stun that Kevy was hoping to find. But there's certainly a lot of pressure to make sure that there's only enough room for one of us to carry, and that's going to be me on Viego.
And that's right. Like, I think the big aim of the game here is this Viego wants to stop Wukong from having any real impact. Like, that's the big thing. Wukong's going to be a big chunk of their engage, especially with Zac too. But if you take him off the map, objectives are going to be easier and you don't have to worry as much. So I like this invade. I think it's smart. You already got that lane swap as well. So you can already see Katsuri just chilling down bot side. Shinky also pretty happy just to be there. But a bit of an interesting one. I'm not sure. Again, I'm no analyst, but I don't know why they've done that. Is this a smart call? I don't think it is.
Well, I don't know. Look, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
We know nothing. We're play-by-play casters. Our job is to not know anything, right? Because we want to make sure our analysts are so smart. But either way, all I'm wondering is the fact of, are we really that scared of Janna? Or is it more a case of we want to make sure that the Zac doesn't get super tanky? One thing I do know, though, is that Harry, obviously, with all this mobility, can jump in Guapi's face. Yeah. And even when 2 members are there, potentially there to gank, he's undeterred. That's strong.
Well, that's the thing, right? Especially with Galio, until you have a little bit more magic resist, those shields aren't going to be massive. So it's kind of interesting, I think, being aggressive early in that early trades too, just in the jungle invade. This topside shenanigans. I like it. I think this is letting Harry do a little bit more in this fight. But look at all the tower plates gone as well there, Skimmy. They've just said, that's fine. If you guys want to sit in another lane, we're going to take everything from you.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, right? They both reset and go to a standard lane formation and both find themselves in a very similar situation in terms of CS so far. So will turret plates be the difference maker? Will that be what really balloons this gold lead in the early game to become something a little bit greater? Because for the meantime, it's a case of Bliss trying to be aggressive and Dai was forced to respond. And for Guapi, it's a case of, I'm meant to be a counter to you, but I feel like I'm getting countered myself.
Absolutely. It's such a huge amount of damage, especially early. I think the one thing we've always sort of touched on, especially with the recent Static Shiv changes, there's been discussions in the Twitter sphere of Static Shiv coming back onto LeBlanc. And I know Tally even said to us, no, it's not going to really be a thing. You don't have to worry too much about it. You just want to go full pen, just get as much damage as possible in AP, and you're sitting pretty. But right now, like, you don't have to worry about it, but the damage is just so big into arguably the champion to stop you from doing damage. So this could be just a solo kill. The flash forward, it's just there.
Unreal. Whilst we're talking about Static Shiv, he says, watch what I can do without that. That's why I suppose you build Flappy these days, because he's able to do that with a single Doran's ring. Bro's been watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy far too much. Bio says, here's what a stun looks like. That's the power of Skarner. Mayfarn, your Zac passive is about to be popped. And with the assistance of Kevy, there is no time to respawn, no TP to be used because they're already been burnt. So Kevy is a very happy Viego.
Yeah, it's too early for those empowered TPs as well. So either way, it's just a whole bunch of shenanigans going on. And I really wish I was an analyst right now because then I'd have something more to say.
Well, all I can tell you is that the update from Tally is his internet is out. So as far as things go, I suppose this is your not planned way to become a caster, right? Like, look, you're on the LCO, you're a host, and now suddenly it's just 2 play-by-play casters. So, welcome.
Well, thank you, Skimmy. But I'm gonna let you take care of it because that's a big engage.
There's certainly a big engage as Adadora jumps in with the grand entrance and says hello to Katsuri. Pops the ignite because they felt that they would have had enough damage to get things done, but it wasn't to be that way. And look, Color Me Pickled, like I say, we were looking before at the stats as to when we last saw John, and it really was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Last played by Zoranis as a Smite top laner. So really, this is how out of the picture this champion is. And I suppose why we're so curious as to what it can get accomplished.
Yeah, I went and looked at some stats for you. I went and had a bit of a cheeky gander. So you're right. Zoranis on the top lane played it. I can't tell you exactly which game, but I know they lost. It was not good. Apparently, it did not perform as well as it should have. I think it was actually Janna with a smite in the top lane too. So let's not even worry about it. We can just brush past that point. I think we'll see a difference showing today in its true role, which is good.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Imagine so. And, you know, it's obviously going to be running rampant in solo queues, so all these players will be, no doubt, pretty familiar with it. And hence why Adadoric's, you know, response to it was one of astoundment, right? Like, there's no way you're playing this in a game where you need every single point. Are we really just turbo simping for Katsuri at this point?
Well, they've got nothing to lose, right? Like, why not bring it out now? Like, you're up against one of the best teams in the league. They've shown that in that previous game. Why not? Just get them in, throw something at the wall, and see if it sticks. It's what my dad used to say. It's what I say. Now you're hearing it.
Now you're hearing it. I'm passing down years and generations worth of
This is the Papa knowledge. It's slowly seeping out. Not even a dad yet. We're already there. But
are you back, Tally?
He's here.
Oh, he's back.
I'm gonna go. See you later. I've had my debut. I'm fine.
Well, there you go, Pike. Pleasure to actually do a little bit of cheeky casting with you. I tell you what, I tell you what, Skinny. I nearly spoke to myself. I'm that lost in the solo cast source. I was so happy, Tally, because we got the Galio picked into the LeBlanc, then you DC'd, and then we had to try and waffle and be like, yeah, we know nothing. We're two play-by-play casters.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, I missed a lot of the draft, but we get to come back into what we see as a dive coming on the bot side. Guppy's using his priority. I want to touch on the Galio into LeBlanc specifically because I think this is a really good matchup. You know, you get to go the tank item straight away onto the Galio, and I think that you don't really want to be playing these squishy champs into LeBlanc. It's very hard to deal with. The only target for LeBlanc this game is the bot lane coming out of Dial, so it's nice to see like such a tanky top side coming out of LeBlanc. What happened is that, you know, a lot of people assume, oh, because of the fortifications going up, no one really wants to lane swap anymore. Spice Panther just go for this gank onto Mayfarm. As easy as that, to get kidnapped off his own turret, Skivvy.
He literally said, I'm taking you with me into the jungle because you're about to find some wildlife you're not happy to see. And, well, this top lane matchup already had a major deficit against Mayfarm. Same could be said actually in the jungle too, because Kevy's been outpacing that of Mochi and also able to find some assists and kills.
Yeah, so to touch back on my earlier point, one of the main reasons you go for lane swaps is just to avoid that first couple levels in bot lane. And, you know, the Kai'Sa or Khan aren't really going to have the best time into, like, the Janna pressure in the early game, the amount of harass that's going to come out of, like, the range disadvantage. So they want to avoid that first couple of levels, find a good first back, and then they can match the, you know, the power that come out in lane when they have, a, you know, three levels onto the Rakans. You're able to trade with all your spells. Much prettier in the lane after avoiding that bad early game.
With all that in mind, let's see where we're at then. 9 minutes into this one, and a 2,500 gold lead for Bliss. That'll keep them happy. Violet just giving them the thumbs down because he knows he's in a very strong spot. But no doubt Katsuri is as well. He's certainly right up there. But a 2-0 scoreline for the LeBlanc, and Harry certainly wants to become the MVP of the series.
Yeah, definitely. Harry did find himself those 2 kills early on and does have the first strike, so he's going to make a lot of money in the early game at this part of the game. So it's good to see that, like, some people aren't just, you know, being like, I need to go let's shoot, I need to dominate my lane completely. He's going more for the scaling rune. He's going to find himself having a bit more damage with the, you know, power spike you get from having the first strike up. The percentage damage bonus you'll gain in the mid game is quite noticeable, and like with the new change to first strike, the amount of gold you get in the mid-late game does fall off, but it's all about the early game now. It's all about getting to your items even faster, and we all know what LeBlanc can do when you find those 1-2 items.
Yeah, if you snowball early, then there is no mid to late game for you to look forward to, right? It is a bit of a whitewash by that point on. Well, you can see topside still. The power of Scarlet truly coming online as up by 20 CS now. And with the constant ability just to stun against the wall with the upheaval rock to slow and damage you down from afar, you can understand why this champion has been getting banned away.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to touch on with Skarner is that his damage profile is it's very physical damage heavy, so it's very hard to tell unless you look at his kit in itself and you look at the numbers. It's that so much damage comes from those heroes. We see the flashing is going on to Mayfarm,
Yeah, making it happen. Running back the ears does Aladora because he hits the flash quickness, sprint right at a key target and say, you're not getting away. Yes, you got your passive and you've made it go bounce, but you've got flash and you will use it at the very last second there as you can force out the slingshot disengage across the Baron Pit wall.
Yeah, so unfortunately the Void Seeker goes wide in the initial engage. They're missing on the extra bit of burst damage, and Mayfun does, use his flash, gets out safely. But we keep seeing this from Bliss, these constant proactive lane swaps, making sure their bot lane is always near the objective. I think this is very, anti-guess. Maybe they were streaming each other this week and, creating this play style. Mayfun happy to TP in here as he does have access to the, the cell division, as we can see by the little icon next to his name.
It's actually a funny thing. I only learned about that very late on into playing League of Legends originally.
Me too.
I was like, wait, that's a thing? I always used to think, you had to, time it as you would with Flash. You'd be like, oh, yeah, Anivia egg up in 5. But it's always like, it's actually on their profile. I was like, there's no way. That's how you know you're a little bit boosted there. Unfortunately for Guapi, he's tried to charge out. But he's just predicted it beautifully as Bio across the wall drags him in and says, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, this is one of the things with the Skarner Burrows that it wins most of these interactions. You would think that maybe this absolute giant Goliath of a, whatever Galio is, I've forgotten, would slam into you and win that interaction. But no, Skarner just is going to grab you, push you into your turret, kidnap you again, and it's going to be an easy kill for him.
What is Galio? I do wonder what he would be.
He's I forgot the name.
His champion was built by Durand as a bulwark against enemy mages. Well, that's not telling me anything. That's a whole bunch of lore. I'm not interested anymore. Let's get back into this one. Grubs are taken. Yet again, all 6 going the way of Bliss. So it's just so easy for the team that is better to not only find advantages in the straight 1v1, as we're seeing on your screen right now, but it just allows them to push that lead even further. It just continues to add to the point you mentioned before, Tally, of first strike is there for early game snowballing. Well, the 6 Void Grubs certainly helped that too.
Yeah, he's a gargoyle, Skimmy. I got it. That's it. That was the one that was on the tip of my tongue.
Why is it so hard for us to remember? We're actually so stun-locked.
Sorry about the lore. We're talking about the gameplay. And, what we are seeing from the gameplay is Harry's completed his first item. He is very accelerated, and we all know how strong LeBlanc is on this new patch. The trading profile has completely changed about LeBlanc. You don't even need to land your distortion in lane to be a really, a strong laner anymore. You can just abuse the cooldown of that sudden impact and just use the true damage proc. As you see the TP coming out of Biopan, then he has access to the ult in a couple seconds.
Really nice flank there from Biopan for looking for a key target. Who's it going to be? Shinky's focused right now, but Impale's not available just yet, so the charm was just simply enough, and Shinky, having burnt literally everything, is unable to survive.
Yeah, once again, extremely easy. I think Shinky held his flash a bit too long. Had access to the monsoon, but did pop it a bit late. But once again, we're seeing Bliss just prioritizing their bot lane. They know that this is the win condition. Bio doesn't care if he falls a bit behind in the 1v1 because he's still going to be able to do his job. He's still going to be able to push out his side lanes. As long as his team is ahead, he is ahead.
Certainly is the case as he now finally gets back to bot lane to respond, but then they find an opportunity to try and go onto Violet as Mochi forces the flash cyclone on his head, and he might actually die in the process. So close to single-handedly taking down the Kaiser. But was not to be, and Kevin now lining up that Spectrum. It's just too easy. No need to take that Sol underneath turret. Might just wrap around though, because Shinky's returned to lane, heartbreak across the wall, gets knocked up, and that will be the end of that play. Yeah,
we do see, Bliss staying around here, but they don't really have access to too much anymore. We have Harry roaming up here, still has access to the ult though, so they have the damage.
Wow.
Easy as that.
What else do you need to really say about that? That truly was a one-shot.
Yeah, and we just see this this constant foot on the pedal gameplay coming out of Bliss. They have priorities in so many different places on the map. They're using their TPs, they're using their, laners priorities, they're using their flashes to just constantly find little advantages. And, when a team this good gets a lead, it's so hard to get back into the game, Skimmy.
Yeah, it is very, very hard, isn't it? 14 minutes, plates have gone down, 5k lead. And Bliss are sitting very pretty. I will say, though, that Direwolves have it going for them in terms of a Dragon Soul. They've managed to get back-to-back Drakes. And with an Infernal Soul up for grabs, I wouldn't put it past them to try and all-in on achieving that at least, to try and bridge that deficit.
Yeah, I think it's... When we talk about Direwolves and how they can get back into this game, at least this game, they have the team fight tools, they have that hyper carry, they have the enchanter in the Janna, so if they do misstep, there's a lot more damage coming out of Katsura this game. He isn't isn't in such a bad position last game compared to, how strong Violet was. Violet is still ahead, in terms of the amount of DPS he can output right now. Katsura really needs to get access to the 2 item. That's when the Infinity Edge really comes online, when you have a bit more crit in your inventory, and that's when we're going to see, Katsura start to be able to take over this game, if that is the case.
Let's see if he can find the luxury. For the second game in a row, has opted to go against the Collector. I think it kind of makes sense, right? You're not looking to try and snowball. You just want to be as strong as possible at any given moment. So He's opting for the IE rush. Meanwhile, Bliss say, well, if you're not going to do anything, we're going to push the momentum that much more in our favor. So Harry split pushing top, finding another turret, and they're going to find themselves that Herald as well. All the while, controlling mid lane, so really limiting the ability for Direwolves to come back into this one. It's going to take a little bit of magic on their end to find that. And I'm curious if they would entertain the idea of fighting for this dragon in 45 seconds. I feel like it's their way back in, because they have that team fighting comp. But I guess you always need to do that little summoner check and note that, well, a lot of these people are missing flash right now.
Yeah, well, when you take stock of the items and inventories right now, Direwolves are down a lot of gold, but when we look at the items, everyone has a completed item against, 1 or 1.5 completed items out of Bliss. And I think that, Direwolves, with how strong their team fight is, it should look to take team fights now. If they do recognize they aren't too far behind, they aren't in such a bad position, they can really, take control of the fact that they have push of mid, Suri, well, without, diving and putting themselves in positions where they're going to be susceptible to just getting absolutely blown up. They really need to track Harry, because he can just one-shot the two important champions to see Katsuri. I mean, Aladok already going in.
Well.
And they're gone.
Well, that may just be our play of the game right there, if we're looking for one, because I had to say nothing. I literally just watched Aladoric just jump in and say, there you go, 6 becomes 12. A few more chapters written in that Magi's.
Yeah, and he even caught me off guard. It was that fast, and that's one of the things that we always, coin to Aladoric on this Rakan is he's so good at finding these engages and really, he has his flash up, he finds the angle, he finds the 2 most important members on Direwolves near Katsuri and his little kitten in Shinky, and they take them down instantly, as we do see in the replay.
Let's see how quick it is from their perspective, because yeah, there's just simply no time to respond. Across the wall goes LeBlanc, and yeah, it would take an absolute miracle to try and outplay that one.
It's not even fair. No one was on their screen, and then all of a sudden 4 people disappear on their screen and they're dead.
How crazy is that, eh? That's just how snap decisions can be made. And I suppose it also brings into question the whole idea that, when Riot did the durability patch, everyone's like, oh, wait, now everyone's way too tanky. Bring me back my one-shots. Well, there you go. It still does exist if you just happen to get fed enough. And I think it was on a perfect timing too, given that we're thinking that Direwolves are in that fantastic spot of, they're not 2 items. They are on an even footing for the most part, but yeah, the character, the class, the experience of Aladoric shining once again, as Harry really can do no wrong this game and is going to force out the blobs. And Aladoric probably just wants to tag up to get an assist.
Yeah, and this is going to be another couple of pages added to Harry's book. He's up to 16 already, so he's got 10 stacks from when he bought it. He is going to be sitting pretty, not much threat going onto him this game, so he's going to be very comfortable, buying Magi's early and just getting that to 25 stacks as soon as possible.
Let's see what they can do to try and wrestle back some gold in this game, because an objective bounty has been claimed by finding their second of the one in mid. Monsoon, nice move to try and bridge some space. Flash also for good measure, just make sure the Rakan can't find the angle, but across the wall goes Harry. One target of mine, and that is Katsuri. Everything burnt to try and keep him alive. He's still got the barrier and the flash, most importantly. And if you can find a good angle to utilize that Moonlight Vigil, maybe you can get a wealth of HP back.
Yeah, and if that chain did land from Harry onto Katsuri there, that would have been lights out for him. Proccing that final ult sigil is the most damage in LeBlanc's kit, so very lucky Katsuri was able to dodge that one out there. Harry's gonna base, get his Shadow Flame, so he's really online now. Finding that extra crit on LeBlanc when the enemies are low is so important in her kit and how she operates as a champion. She can really, change the different combos that she wants to play in these team fights, whether if she wants to go for the ult distortion into the QW, or just play for that extremely long range, basic LeBlanc combo we see where you distortion forward, double sigil into the chain.
Learning Vitelli. We do need to make that segment, don't we? Just, a few little learning lessons. I've won all these trophies, and now I'm here to educate you, the viewers at home. Guapi, unfortunately for him, has opted for that very tanky build that you wanted to see, right? Hollow Radiance rushed nice and early, with the Brambles coming out too. But at this stage, she's unable to really command too much pressure, right? Unable to really facilitate much in the side lanes, just dare to, I suppose, soak up the wave and then rotate again and say, we just had to group as 5. We don't win this by split pushing anymore.
Yeah, you did mention it, but I think facilitate is a very important word when it comes to this Galio build. You don't have the same threat in the 1v1, but you are able to just mitigate this LeBlanc altogether. We see how fed Harry is, and he just doesn't have the same damage on this Galio that he normally was, but Violet does.
He certainly does, jumping across the wall, nice and Killer Instinct, then flashing out of that grand entrance, really playing a bit of a horror maze as Guapi runs all the way back to his side of the base. As everybody wrangles their movement towards them to assist, and then the lonely top lane is just collecting waves. They're just on their own island, and it continues to be that sort of 1-4 split.
Yeah, and another classic item we're seeing out of Guapi is the Warmogs, and I think this item on the new iteration of it is so strong on tanks and maybe even on the Janna. I would like to see Shinky build this himself, because you get the item and it activates the passive itself now, which is so important. You know, getting that extra health is so important against LeBlanc, so you're unable to just get, you know, blown off the map, as we saw when Aldor found that really nice engage. And you know, the extra % move speed is so nice in Janna's kit.
So it would be, right? Combine that with the passive, and you are really as quick as you were as the Bard in the game previously, right? So, wouldn't put it past him. Whether or not the game gets put in a position that he's able to afford it is another question entirely, as it is still an 8k lead favouring that of Bliss. Baron has just spawned, but this time there is no need to try and rush that one, because another Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds, and with Bliss having secured the previous one, there's no need to panic about a soul point being picked up anytime soon. So it does put Direwolves a bit of a pickle, I guess, as to what do we do? How do we respond to this LeBlanc? How do we actually get mid lane control? How do we go for these objectives, Tally?
Yeah, and to Direwolves' credit, they have slowed down the game a lot. You know, you would think with the gold lead and like the kill differential right now, a lot more should be happening. But we see Bliss, you know, playing on 3 lanes a lot, and Direwolves is doing a good job to, you know, keep catching these waves. They're keeping up in the CS department. They're not falling behind in that sense. It's just a lot of what happened in the early game at the Dragon. But Guapi doesn't have flash this time.
Time for a repeat. We did it in the top lane, it didn't work out, but this time you have no flash, so we can make it work this time, and that is what they do. And just off the bat, a 4v5 to take place. Dragon being looked at, Kevin to start it up, and it's in the works of a perfect game here, 11-0.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they did lose the 2 dragons, so they can't go for the perfect game. But yeah, it's a soft perfect game. It still counts. You know, we'll give it to them. They're doing a really good job to make sure it's a very clean game. We see Fire over the wall here. If he does want to go for the burrow, we don't have access to the Kai Stalk, but Aldor still has the flash.
Certainly does. If that flash is up and available, you know some craziness may just be about to brew. Bit of attention thrown towards that mid lane to see if they can find anything, but the Cyclone knocking him up. As they then turn attention onto Baron and say, well, come at us, as Elador hovers around waiting for anybody to dare step up.
Watch Harry. It's very hard for Katsu to walk up here. The amount of pressure he has and the burst he has right now might mean lights out.
Katsuri the focus. Oh my god! He put barrier! It didn't matter, man! Oh, what a champion LeBlanc is. Katsuri. Well, now you're concerned, because where is your damage to Direwolves? Where is the damage? It doesn't exist. So the Monsoon goes out, they knock them back, the Baron is picked up. Bliss feeling so strong right now. His 8k becomes 12.
That was just a very nice setup from Bliss, but I also want to touch on the fact what we saw there at the end. That is the interaction we have with the Jan and Rakan and how these fights should look when Katsuri is alive. But unfortunately, Harry finds a really nice flash chain onto Katsuri and completely blows him out. I think that's one of the combos that catches people off guard a lot when it comes to LeBlanc, is that final, you know, flash chain combo. No one really expects that damage, as LeBlanc can just go back anyway, and you're never going to be putting yourself in a position where you're unsafe. And that the amount of damage that Harry has with this many stacks in his Magi is unmatched.
Yeah, it's criminal. It really is criminal. And I don't think there's any counterplay at this stage, right? You need literally the entire team to try and lock this champion down. But the level 16, they've got the damage. And, yeah, it's anybody's guess now as to how they look to end this one. Either way, though, Baron, 2 stacks to the Inferno Drake. And the damage just continues to ramp on up. And I do wonder what we're working our way towards right now. If they're even concerned about the perfect 12-0 scoreline. Or if they're just looking to try and get as much practice, I suppose, in this particular position on stage.
Like in Bliss, like if I was Bliss in this position, it's all about closing out the game. You're never thinking about like, oh, okay guys, don't throw, we gotta have the perfect game. You know, let's extend the game, get a bit more practice. They're all about, you know, okay, our next setup is let's go bot side, let's let him use this Baron, let's play on 2 ways. Harry's communicating how much damage he can do right now in the setup. As you see Violet land the Void Seeker and followed up with the ult.
He's like, watch this, I can do damage as well. But Harry's like, watch this, I'm godlike. It was never in doubt. Bio gets amongst it, says, wait, I'm participating. I've got the same KDA as my AD carry. Top lane is a fantastic role. So do we go for that setup in the bot lane as you highlight? Oh, great flash. Instantly from Bios, who's looking for the flash impale. That is to be denied. But what isn't is this base. Because you've got 2 members down for 20 seconds and counting. You've got 6 Void Grab stacks. Yeah, sure, you can get the put a bowl in its situation of taking down 2 inhibitors, but surely now you're just looking at the Nexus and saying, let's end this week, and let's just show them how strong we are. Adaldoric with a rare L on that occasion, actually, with the flash dash forward. Doesn't actually hit anything, but I'm sure you won't mind too much. You can see him smiling in the player cam there. Jumping in goes Mochi with that last stand. Can they find anything in this frantic base defense? The answer is no, unfortunately. As Team Bliss showcased that there's more than one team in this league. Week 3 is the week of really building momentum. and they close it out with the perfect 2-0.
Yeah, the perfect 2-0. Elidor showing off his required prowess at the end of the game there. Thank God Harry is on his team to cover up his mistakes sometimes, but really good showing from this team. Very nice to see who would you consider our top 3 teams, all showing very clean games this week, all showing absolutely dominating performances. I think Files will have to go back to the drawing board, think about, maybe we need to find more options. Maybe we can't be such a one-dimensional team. Maybe, it's very hard to enable Katsuri when teams can get such an easy real on us and just draft around it.
But it does become a bit of a concern, because whilst we talk about week 3 being the midway point